Remind me to put the channel back to center after we're done.
Sorry, that was so
Just come with us. We're so casual. You guys are the backdrop. Yeah. I could run them through my living room.
Yeah, but I also, as long as it has lit. Oh, it will.
Alright, keep coming. She's on her countdown.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Happy Pride Month to Dane County. It is a true joy to be standing with all of you in celebration, in solidarity, in the space of our amazing community. Today we are here to raise the Progress Pride flag, a vibrant and powerful symbol that represents love, equity, equality, visibility, and so much more for the LGBTQ plus folks, not just here in Dane County, but across the state of Wisconsin. This flag reminds us that while Pride is a time for joy and for celebration, it is also a point where we need to reaffirm ourselves and plant our feet and call for action. Pride has always been more than just parades and parties. Though we all need more parades and parties right now, let's celebrate joy where we can find it. Today is rooted in resistance and perseverance, the kind that is said, enough is enough, at Stonewall, and the kind that continues today in the fight for justice and dignity for all people, regardless of who they are and who it is that they love. As a public servant, I am a proud ally. I carry the spirit of resistance and love in the work that I do every day for the people here in Dane County. I will never, ever forget the moment where I was listening to the radio and marriage equality was called the law of the land. And I was in my car heading up to the Wisconsin Dells, and I turned it around and I came here to our amazing city-county building almost 10 years ago. And with pen in hand, I was deputized by our fabulous and powerful clerk, Scott McDonald, to be able to sign marriage certificates for people in Dane County. I spent day after day celebrating joy, watching people wipe tears and imagine that they were actually going to be able to live out their dreams, to publicly embrace their love under the flags of our government. I was one of the very first people in Wisconsin to sign these marriage certificates and had the opportunity to be a witness for so many marriages over that first week, when marriage equality became the law of the land. It was one of the most moving days of my life. Bringing my kids here as they were small, watching people embrace one another and celebrate what many people felt was never going to happen, happened. And that is a message that we all need to reaffirm ourselves in continuing to dream and reach for what is possible. Watching couples who had waited not just years, but frankly decades, to be recognized that their love was equally valued under the law of the land. And folks, that wasn't just a moment celebrating marriages. It was a moment to celebrate belonging and about finally being seen for who you are. And here in Dane County, every single day we work very hard to continue to build on a community where everyone is seen and heard and valued. Through the ups and the downs, we continue to move forward together. And that's why we are so committed to inclusive policies, safe spaces, affirming healthcare, frankly, the kind of leadership that our residents demand, where we stand up, not just when it is easy, but for what is right. And we all know that our work is not done. There are too many people in the LGBTQ plus community, especially our trans neighbors, friends, and loved ones, people of color, and those living on the margins who are still facing the reality of barriers to their public safety, their own personal dignity, healthcare, and frankly, the opportunities that so many other people have. So Pride calls on us not just as an opportunity to celebrate, but as a reaffirmation that we must continue to push forward. So this month, and let us not just make it be about a month, let's celebrate how far it is that we've come together when we link our arms, and to recommit to the road that is ahead of us, because we are living in an upside down world right now, and there is more important than ever that we continue showing up and speaking our truths. This is not just a moment, but it is a movement that we all need to be part of and proud to be part of. And Dane County will continue to be proud to lead with love and compassion and understanding and sharing space. Happy Pride, folks. And I'm thrilled to pass the mic over to Supervisor Rick Rose.
One of the beautiful moments like today is to hear those shared stories. And I reflect where I was on that day as well. And so thank you from my heart for sharing that story. No cap, my story goes back to the day I decided to come out was the same week that we heard about HIV/AIDS. And I'll tell you, while it was rearing its ugly head, we were determined as people, of all types of people, to come together and combat this together. It was our lesbian friends during that period of time that came together and took care of us. While I was encountering this in LA, I've heard stories about the streets of Madison, Dane County, how lesbians were there cooking for us, showing up and rubbing our feet when we were at the height of neuropathy on our feet. Lesbians were there so powerfully that the community used to start with the letter G. Now, with honor and distinction, it starts with the letter L. This isn't about letters, though. Let's fast forward to 40 years later as we stand here today. The trans community is under attack. Even as close to a block away from us, it is under attack. Let's go back to what happened at Stonewall, right? It was two trans folks that started the movement. So even though today we sit that in early 2025, the president of this nation decided to remove the letter T from all websites that honor Stonewall, or even a violent act that comes in and paints the letter T off of LGBTQ on that Stonewall memorial, that just shows you how big this problem is. As we raise the flag today, we remember the legacies of Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera. It was our trans friends who started the queer movement at Stonewall and who still need to be remembered today. And right here in Wisconsin and in Madison, we look at those folks like Cass Marie, who was recently honored for being one of the top drag queens in this country, who also works in the addiction community. Folks like the dear Nina, I had to do this. Our first elected trans alder, who still brings joy to this world, no matter what. They are here making a fight, and we need to be there for them. So I ask you, just like the lesbians help the gays, just like we should all come together and help the trans folks, it is time for us to even step further into this battle. This isn't some separate issue. It's literally part of our shared glow up. When we stand together, validating everyone's lived experience under the same pride flag, we're not just honoring our past struggles, we're also building a future that slaps with the flag. A whisper of soul, a truth held deep, beyond the lines that bodies keep, in every step a brave new gleam, living authentically, a vibrant dream. That flag we raise, it flies for all of us. Every color, every stripe, a promise of belonging for our trans siblings right here in Madison and elsewhere. We aren't just defined by a letter or a color or a piece of flag or a transition of what the flag looked like when I knew the flag. We are here because we stand for more than just those symbols. And like we're proven by Cass Marie and Alder Martinez Rutherford and other trans friends that are here today, we will keep this battle going. We did this fight also for young folks like Charlie and Benny when we did one of the nation's first trans sanctuaries here in the city and on the county. That was a big moment in time 2 years ago, but there's still work ahead of us. So let's remember that both county and city come together, and we will show that liberation isn't real until liberation is for everyone equally. Thank you so much. Someone that does the same fight both here in the government and in the community, I'd like to welcome Alder O'Brien.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I have the immense honor to be standing here with friends and colleagues. I come to this in a couple of different ways as the Policy and Advocacy Director at our state's only LGBTQ civil rights and political advocacy organization, and as a proud out LGBTQ member of the Madison Common Council. Now more than ever, we need to have public shows of support for our queer and our trans youth. We need shows of support for our schools and for our educators, and we need shows of support for the LGBTQ community in general. And I'm honored to kick off reading the annual Pride resolution this year. So, whereas in 1969, just months after the Stonewall Uprising, the Madison Alliance for Homosexual Equality was founded as Wisconsin's first gay rights organization. And whereas in 1973, Judy Greenspan was the first out lesbian in the nation to run for public office when she sought election to the Madison School Board after she and others had been denied the right to speak in Madison high schools. And whereas the city of Madison in 1975 became the first place in Wisconsin and one of the earliest in the country to ban discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation by amending its Equal Opportunities Ordinance. Whereas Alder Jim Yeadon was appointed to the city council in the fall of 1976 and elected in the spring of 1977, and was the first openly gay man elected to the city council in the United States. And whereas Madison State Representative David Clarenbach skillfully led the fight to pass a first-in-the-nation state's gay rights law, which was signed by Republican Governor Lee Sherman Dreyfus. Whereas the 5th Annual Conference of Gay and Lesbian Officials was hosted in Madison in 1989 at the state capitol with a local host committee chaired by County Supervisor Dick Wagner and Tammy Baldwin. Whereas Ricardo Gonzalez was the first openly gay Latino elected official to public office in the United States when he was elected to the Madison City Council in 1989, and whereas the city created the state's first domestic partnership registry in 1990 by ordinance affording limited rights to same-sex couples. And I'm happy to turn it over to Dina.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Whereas In 2000, the city became the first place in Wisconsin to prohibit discrimination on the basis of gender identity by amending the Equal Opportunities Ordinance. And whereas organizations such as Gay Straight Alliance for Safe Schools, GSAFE, Fair Wisconsin, Outreach LGBTQ Center, Community Center, Freedom Inc., and Orgullo Latinx, among others, work to uplift and empower the queer community in Madison. And whereas in 2024, Tyrone Creech Jr., a proud Black gay man and fifth-generation Madisonian, became the executive director of GSAFE, and whereas Ali Muldrow, a bisexual woman and lifelong Madisonian, is currently a Madison Metropolitan School District school board member and executive director of Wisconsin Abortion Fund, as well as previously serving as the executive director of GSAFE. And whereas Dana Pelibon, who identifies as queer in the is the executive director of the Rape Crisis Center and serves on the boards of organizations doing important work for the LGBTQ plus community in Madison, such as Outreach LGBTQ plus Community Center, Freedom Inc., and others. And whereas the city of Madison has a proud history of protecting LGBTQ rights and advancing LGBTQ equality and continues to do so, and
whereas having pride itself is both an act of bravery and joy, and Pride Month is about celebrating the beauty of all LGBTQ plus people. And whereas the city of Madison recognizes the LGBTQ plus community as an important part of the diversity of the greater Madison community and appreciates their contributions to our economy, culture, neighborhoods, and city, now, therefore, be it resolved, the city of Madison declares June 2025 as Pride Month in the city of Madison. And Tyrone has joined us today. I'd like to invite him to come forward and receive the proclamation.
Thank you.
There you go. Show it off for the cameras. You're going to lose a page there. Careful.
Thank you.
Well, I want to add my thanks to all of you for joining us today to celebrate Pride in the city of Madison. As I said, when the governor raised the Pride flag, sometimes people ask if it makes a difference to fly a flag. And my answer is yes. It makes a difference because when you see that flag, I know that the people in these buildings and in that building care enough to make sure that as an out lesbian, I know that I am welcome and that my government cares about me and my community. And when you wear a flag pin or a button or a sticker or whatever it might be, I know that you value me and my community and that you care about our rights and our safety. So it matters that we fly this flag. It matters that we communicate to all of Madison and Dane County that here we respect people's rights and we value diversity and we celebrate pride. So I'd like to invite the elected officials to join me in raising the pride flag.